Danny Flexon, welcome you to the latest edition of DiBella's Digest with Luke Campbell, who's taking some well-earned time away in Newport, Rhode Island, sipping cocktails by the sea. Could be worse. How's your week been, Lou? I'm not sure I need to ask.
Well, it's been an eventful week. Nothing unexpected. You've read that Regis and I went our separate ways, but we had a nice 6-year run together. Our contract was close to running out, and sometimes it's just time for people to move on. And I'm a huge fan of the kid, and I think he's still going to be a big star. And I'm happy that we were able to, amicably, end our business relationship and stay friends, which I think to me is very important.
You said it wasn't unexpected. What do you feel were the reasons behind parting ways at this point?
I don't want to belabor it, honestly. I think that sometimes, he had a new management team, took over with a couple of years left in my contract. And I sort of knew even back then, I didn't necessarily believe that he would survive the end of my first term, of my extended term of the contract. But everything's cool. And it really was handled in an amicable way. And I'm a big boy, contracts end and you move on with the relationships, and the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, because I got an unexpected phone call recently from Keith Connolly and Sergiy Derevyanchenko asking me to jump back on the team. My contract with Sergiy had expired. And it was nice to get that call, and I'm very happy that I'll be, performing some services for Sergiy as he heads toward his Charlo fight. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of Sergiy. I thought you could have argued that he beat Danny Jacobs. It was a fight that could have gone either way. I certainly believed he beat Triple G, even though I do understand it was a war and a close fight that could have gone either way. But Derevyanchenko is one of the best middleweights in the world, and I think with a fair shake, I really believe that the guy that fought Triple G beats Charlo, and I got to help him make sure that he gets that fair shake with the judges that he deserves. One of the things you've seen a lot since the pandemic started is A-sides getting all of the benefits of the doubt in scoring. And I just want to make sure that, I think in a particular fight, Charlo is probably considered by most to be the A-side, though there's no real clear B-side. It's more like an A-side and a A-minus side. But I do want to try to make sure that he gets a terrific judging panel and that he gets a fair decision. I just want to, and you know what? I love the Charlos too. I know them since they're kids. I want to make sure, I want to see the best fighter win. I want to see a decision that reflects what we saw in the ring. But I think it's a terrific fight, and I'm happy that I'll be working with Keith and Sergiy.
What specifically will your role be with Sergiy going into this fight and your duties?
I think, look, the contract's already done, the negotiations are already done. It's much more, he fights on the PBC platform. And Al Heyman is Sergey's manager / advisor. So I didn't have to do any of the negotiation or the contract work. That was all done by Keith. But basically to help with PR, publicity. DiBella Entertainment will support them and press releases, publicity, and also frankly continuing to beat the drum for a fair shake, for a fair decision. And I think that, whenever you're representing a guy that could be perceived as the B-side in a fight, particularly a guy that's already been, in my mind, somewhat victimized by the politics of boxing in a lot of ways. I don't want to belabor it right now, but I think that Sergiy hasn't gotten any real breaks. And I just really want to see him. He was one of the best amateurs in history. He's a terrific middleweight as a pro, and he deserves a fair shake in that fight, and I'm going to do everything in my power to help him get that fair shake.
When news broke earlier this week about your split with Regis, he was almost immediately labelled the hottest free agent in boxing. Do you go along with that?
He's a very desirable fighter, but right now, in the middle of a pandemic, it may not be the greatest market of all time, but he certainly is one of the more attractive fighters that's on the market. I'm guessing that Regis and his management are going to announce something rather quickly. I don't think they're just starting a process of negotiating. I think they have some idea what they're going to do, and I think it's just a matter of time until we hear it. But yeah, I think he's a fighter with still a lot of upside potential, and a guy that maybe hasn't tapped fully into his star power or his ability. I'm gonna always root for him, and I'm a big fan. And I spoke to him the other night, and you know, he knows he has a friend in New York, and you know, on a whole, I think we did good things for each other during that lengthy period of time that we were working together.
Where do you think he's going to go, or can you not say?
I can say anything I want at this point. I don't know. I mean, I'm not speaking with inside information, Danny, but from what I've heard, I think he's most likely to go to PBC.
Yeah. Is that a good move for him, in your view?
You know, it's hard to say. He knows, like, I'm not negotiating his future. I mean, a lot, it depends. You know, I think that there are some attractive scenarios at PBC. And also, I heard rumblings that maybe he was getting a one-fight deal. Maybe it's not a multi-fight deal, though that would surprise me. But, you know, there are multiple directions he can go in. It's, you know, but that's no longer my business or concern. I wish him the best. And, you know, I'm sure that you're going to hear a lot from Regis Prograis in the future.
While it's never nice to lose someone you've worked with for a long amount of time, does it mean on the upside that you've now got more time to devote to some of your other fighters?
Yeah, I mean, it opens up some time, but, you know, these are not the easiest or most productive of times. There's so much uncertainty still in the industry that it's affecting an awful lot, you know. I just got a phone call from another writer about Tevin Farmer's fight, asking about whether Jojo Diaz signing with MTK Global had any impact on Tevin Farmer's rematch clause. And it certainly doesn't, because there wouldn't have been a first fight without a rematch clause. And the Golden Boy and Jojo knew that going in. So, like, the fact that he has new management has no impact on our contractual rights. And, you know, Tevin's entitled to a rematch, and we're waiting to see when and if that happens. I mean, I don't think there's any question about the if, even if there are some issues that have to be overcome with Jojo and maybe with Jojo and his promoter. I don't think it's an if, but we're waiting to see when that will happen. And we would certainly like to I think we need to get that fight done this year, particularly if we want it to be for the IBF title.
And just staying on that fight for a minute, what does Tevin Farmer have to do differently in the rematch to make sure he comes out on top second time around?
He got hit an awful lot in that fight. I think he will be better in the rematch, and I think that he has an excellent chance to win the rematch. I think pretty much everything that night that could have gone wrong went wrong for him, and it still was a competitive fight, even though I think Jojo clearly won. But I think Tevin can easily win that rematch. It's a super competitive fight between two excellent fighters, and you know, I think Tevin has to be more Tevin. He has to box more, stand in the pocket, and trade less. I think he will be better in the rematch.
Another fight that we've talked about before, but now seems to be almost over the line, is Luke Campbell against Ryan Garcia. WBC purse bids were postponed for a week in the hope that Matchroom and Golden Boy are very close to an agreement now. We know it's going to be on DAZN because they're both with DAZN anyway, so it doesn't really tell us anything we didn't already know.
Well, look, it would have been. I give DAZN and both promoters credit for not embarrassing themselves by going to purse bid, because it was. I mean, why do you go to purse bid when you're fighting for the same platform? You know, you negotiate the deal. You don't want to sit there. You're going to sit there and bid up the price so that the platform pays more when they have deals with both promoters and both fighters. So I think it's the right thing that they're handling it through negotiation. So I commend them for that. I think it's the intelligent thing to do. I'm sure the fight's going to happen, Danny, but I wouldn't necessarily bet a lot that it happens this year. That's a fight that you know is somewhat difficult to envision in a bubble with no crowd. I think you will see it absolutely this year if someone can get back to selling tickets in either the U.S. or the U.K. But it looks like the fight's going to happen, and it's a very good matchup. I love the fight, and I'm not sure it's going to happen this year. I think a lot of stuff's going to be dependent on where the chips fall in the next few months in terms of COVID and all the other nonsense going on in the world.
Do you feel it's a close enough fight that home advantage could prove crucial?
Yeah, I actually do. And I also think it would be sort of crazy to take a young fighter like Ryan, do that fight in the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it strikes me that that's a fight that really should be in the US. But I know that I've read at least that Eddie and Golden Boy talking about the fact that it could be in either locality, depending on circumstance. So let's see what happens. But if I was Ryan and Ryan's management, I would greatly prefer to fight that fight in the U.S. I think it's a huge advantage to Luke. He has the advantage of experience already, but it would be a huge advantage to Luke to fight that fight in the U.K.
And just before we let you go, I have to ask, what is it you're drinking? I saw you just necked it just now. What cocktail is your preferred one?
This isn't my preferred one. My girlfriend ordered herself a rum punch and got me one also. So I'm not going to when I'm sitting by the beach looking at scenery like is behind me right now that I'm trying to show you, I'll drink pretty much anything you put in front of me. So this happens to be a rum swizzle, but my next drink won't be.
I've got to say the easy seaside life seems to suit you. You've got a look of a kind of Bill Goldberg about you at the moment. I like it.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually a Goldberg fan. I very much like that comparison. You know what, man? I really do feel chill right now. And honestly, I felt pretty chill this whole week. I haven't, it's funny because, you announce some things get announced, the Regis thing, the Sergiy thing, and then you have it seems that, boxing doesn't have we're still a niche sport, particularly in America. I think it's much more wider popularity in the UK, but we're a niche sport in America, but we have like a very hardcore social media boxing fanatic kind of group of people that have to comment on everything and think they know the business. And they're like fanagers. They're like fanboys and fanagers instead of managers.
Yeah.
So everybody has comments and honestly, like I made a decision this week. I was going to have a nice week. I was going to go to the ocean. I was going to enjoy myself, and I wasn't going to accept any negativity. And honestly, it's been a pretty positive week for me, and I'm feeling good about the world at the moment. I mean, it's hard not to feel good about the world when you're sitting by the ocean. Well, and I feel a little bit removed from all the insanity of New York and COVID and everything that's been going on in the United States right now. Because you know what, man? Like it just seems that Europe and most of the world has their shit together in a better way than we do right here in the U.S. right now. So any little escape I can get, Danny, I'm enjoying at the moment.
Great stuff. Well, it's always a pleasure, but even more so this week to see you so relaxed. It's great. It won't last. I can tell you.
I can promise you it won't last, but it's at least going to last for a day or two more. Yeah. So good to be with you, Danny, and I'm going to go back to the beach.
I don't blame you. Take care, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye.